there's a lot of moving parts. Let's stick within the NFC West landscape here before we look at the list in its entirety, Bo. Brock Purdy, I think we all agree, a byproduct of his coaching, his personnel. Certainly, it's the most talent-rich offensive personnel that we've seen in our adult life, right? Led by Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle. It's an embarrassment of riches, and good for Brock Purdy. He's taken full advantage. But you look at his limitations, combine that with Geno Smith, who I like Geno Smith fine. He's had a nice reclamation project. He's in his mid-30s, and he's been to the postseason one time. He didn't make the playoffs last year. He almost lost to Joshua Dobbs. And if it wasn't for Matt Prater's 2 field goals, which helped us land this young man right here, Kyler Murray would have upended Geno Smith. So really, it's, in my opinion, it's Kyler Murray versus Matthew Stafford. And I think it's funny. We look at Matthew Stafford as this big, well-accomplished quarterback, when in all actuality, until Matthew Stafford was partnered with a Hall of Fame level head coach in Sean McVay, I think his trajectory was very similar to Kyler Murray. He went to a franchise that was perennial, basement dwellers, for lack of a better term, elevated, took them to the postseason, albeit as a wild card team. Body got banged up, and then eventually the team and the player parted ways with each other. Now, thankfully for Kyler Murray, I think he gets retribution under Jonathan Gannon, whereas Matthew Stafford had to leave town with Sean McVay to have success. Like, it wasn't going to happen in Detroit. Everybody understood it. Stafford, like Kyler Murray, got a big contract early in his career, had great skill players, but I think Matthew Stafford, at the end of the day, right now, has the baton. He's the top quarterback in this division. And then I would argue Kyler Murray has a chance not only to unseat Brock Purdy, but to challenge Matthew Stafford from a longevity standpoint. Because what do we say about Stafford? Year by year, how is his body holding up? Is it deteriorating, right? He proved a lot of people wrong last year. But at the same time, that felt like an outlier. This division for the top QB spot is up for grabs. I don't care who you are. I think you've got 2 older players in Geno Smith and Matthew Stafford, and then one player in particular in Brock Purdy that's going to be saddled with carrying the roster eventually as contract extensions kick in. That roster begins to deteriorate. And then you got old K1, number 1, whose team is saddled with the 3rd most cap space in the NFL. It's young. The talent is on the rise. No lofty contracts other than his own. Right. Look back in this division in about 18 months. It could look dramatically different, Bo.
Absolutely. And I think it's a comparison that not a lot of people are making in it, but I agree with it. I think that the Matthew Stafford, early Matthew Stafford comp to the current Kyler Murray, and then K1 finally receiving the infrastructure that Stafford certainly received in a trade out of Detroit to LA. I like it, especially when you've got, 2 former number 1 picks in the NFL draft and as talented as anybody in the league. I mean, CJ Stroud this offseason, he's saying if Matthew Stafford had a fair shot his entire career, we'd be talking about him like Aaron Rodgers,
probably,
crazy hyperbole. Like, we don't know. Like, Stafford dealt with some injuries and stuff, much like Kyler Murray did as well, more so on the upper body than the lower body. And he obviously had a complement, as you mentioned, of skill players and Calvin Johnson and like for sports, but because of he was a victim of the organization, just not having the ability or the vision to find consistent winning structure. Like, they just, and you're seeing it, like the Rams are set up for that success. And I think that Monty Osfort, Jonathan Gannon are quickly setting the foundation and on the way in doing that for K1 and crew. So it really is, it is an interesting comp, but I agree with it. And then completely wholeheartedly agree with, like, the Arizona Cardinals. Something's brewing here in the desert. It absolutely is. And with that is opportunity with these budding skill position players and a quarterback entering his prime years and entering really with a good idea of how to run this offense going into a second season with Drew Petzing to take off like a rocket and maybe take claim to something that I think a lot of people, especially nationwide, counted him out for as being the best quarterback in the NFC West.
And I look at the Cardinals' offensive trajectory with Kyler Murray, and I look at the infrastructure, as you just mentioned, with the young skill players. It's solidified. Like, use the 4th overall pick on a wide receiver, generational, not going anywhere in MHJ. Michael Wilson, who is on everybody's pop list, started off by this show as the other outside alpha receiver, Those two players, as we've outlined, in conjunction with Greg Dortch, making no money, all of whom hopefully are around in 2025, 2026 and beyond. And then, oh, by the way, Trey McBride, who's due a contract extension, like that group is solidified. And then you think about everybody nationally that's, Cardinals offensive line, it's underwhelming. It's not great. Well, people who are here locally know, it overachieved last year. It was actually very respectable. What do we know about the the draft philosophy, Monty Ossenford? He's going to continue to invest in that unit. When you think about, okay, you got Paris Johnson, you took a guard in the 3rd round here, you've got Yelda Froholt, you've got Will Hernandez and Jonah Williams. Next year, in the first 2 rounds, I would venture to say probably going to add an offensive lineman. Every single year, you're looking at a top 50 to 75 offensive linemen. So you're only doubling and tripling down on this unit. I would say, again, this is what we compare it to the entire offseason with these rankings. The Cardinals and the hierarchy of their offensive skill players and the infrastructure really is only continuing to go up. Whereas under Steve Keim with Kyler Murray, it had a shelf life because of DeAndre Hopkins and Zach Ertz and AJ Green and Rodney Hudson, all these players that were aging, that had played their best football elsewhere. Whereas, yes, Marvin and Michael and Trey, they all have to continue to get better. But man, after what we've seen thus far, it's like I'm willing to double down on those guys improving every year. And so it's like we ought to be able to look up at these lists every offseason, and the Cardinals are going to rank higher and higher.